You got to leave the fucking feelings and emotions at the door. Yo, you came in here to do a job. My job is to come in here and play basketball. Your job is to come in here and referee. Yo, all my feelings about you and your feelings about me, that shit got to be checked at the door, yo.
Let me give you the date, Rasheed. It is July 1992. That's a while ago. That is 30 years ago. What do you think you were doing in July of 1992?
July of 92, I was at Carolina.
No, not yet.
Well, 92, I'm sorry, high school. I'm sorry. Damn, I don't even know my own shit there. Let me see, July 9th. I don't know. That's a good one there.
You participated in a dunk contest against Jerry Stackhouse in, I don't know exactly where this is, but it is a summer Nike camp in which you're throwing down windmills just casually in high school. Do you remember this?
Oh, man. Yeah, I do. That was a good one right there. And it was a little Nike little camp or / showcase. I think that's when they were really starting to, quote unquote, starting to publicize, high school basketball and all-star games and things of that nature. And me and Stack went at it, man. But Stack took off like a foot from within the foul line, and then I was like, nah, I can't do that one though. But
you look like you just did it right there.
It was nice. No, it was close. It was close.
And then I also did. Did Vince Carter take your dunk? Because I saw the up and under cradle rock there on your second dunk. Like, that was the one that he made famous at the dunk contest. But I swore I just saw it. And then Stackhouse starts doing the dunk that he did against Duke. He's taking off from the foul line. Mm-hmm. And were you guys boys at this point? Because ultimately you're gonna be teammates.
Yeah, no, definitely. Stack and I were cool. Like, we weren't the best of friends as we turned out to be, of course, when we went to college. But no, Stack and I, we were pretty cool. We respected one another, and it was like, man, we were both competitors, we respected one another. He was the best at the time. He was the best small forward in the country. And, I was the best 5-man.
You got pretty decent hops for a 5-man. The 5 is not supposed to be someone that's participating in dunk contests. Like, whoa. No, you're right. He almost took off the foul line.
I'm not a basketball player. I had to learn how to play basketball. Originally, my sport is track and field.
Oh, that explains things.
When I was younger, I did it all: 4x1, 4x2, 200, 400, long jump, high jump, triple jump. I did all that when I was in high school, and then I grew up running track in my neighborhood because, I really wasn't into basketball like that at that time until I really wanted to start to be like my big brothers. And then that's when I started playing basketball. Well, and I started to like girls. It was a young lady who lived across the street. She was a all-city, all-American. And I had a little crush on her, just a small crush on her, just a small crush. And but no, she actually helped me out. Real talk. She helped me out, and she was one of the first people to tell me on my jump shot to keep the elbow tucked in, and at the end of it, make that gooseneck when you get that full extension. So
that's why your form has always been so tight, because you make an extra emphasis on the gooseneck, and now we know why, because you're trying to impress someone next door. There's always an answer with you, an honest answer. So it's track. Yeah. That's why he's able to get those hops at that age as a big man. And now that form where he always held it, it wasn't to show off. It wasn't to rub it in. It was to remind the nice lady across the street that I'm doing exactly what you told me.
Yeah, it was cool though, man. That was my high school days when I was I would have to say one heck of an athlete then, because I did it all. Only thing I didn't do was play football because my coach wouldn't let me because I was too damn tall. But no, I played baseball in high school, ran track, and of course, basketball. So I loved it though, man. But no, that was classic to see that. I haven't seen that shit.
Good.
I would have to say over 25 years.
Taking Rasheed back.
For real.
Before we went live with this program, we were talking about some of the players' kids walking around the locker room that are now in the league today, and then it hit Sheed, and he was just like, "Oh my God, how old are we?" I'm like, "You tell me."
Man, climbing them charts, right? Sheesh.
All right. So since we have this wisdom collectively between the two of us being on this planet for a very long time, let's segue now into some more current events. As this weekend in the NBA had a couple of bruises. I wouldn't say scars. I wouldn't go that far, but a couple of talking points that there is no one on this planet better to give some feedback regarding this topic than Rasheed Wallace. So for some context, we saw over the weekend Ja Morant get ejected for having a conversation with fans that were courtside. Now, what he said reportedly, he was kind of being cryptic with a referee standing right next to him. The ref overheard it and said, "Enough, you're out of here." We saw Luka Doncic last week get teed up for trying to motivate his teammates because a referee thought that Luka was screaming at him. But Luka has a history of getting a little, let's call it, aggressive constructive criticism with the referees. We saw like 5 straight technicals in the Bucks-Warriors game. And it's gotten to the point now that I almost, first of all, we're leading off the show with it. But how, like, as a player, Sheed, you know this type of shit occurs every single game, but it seems like now the referees are kind of going above and beyond more than just you staring them down or ejecting you for ball don't lie. It's like they're anticipating it. And as a result, Ja Morant gets ejected, not just teed, but ejected from the game. And you have a whole bunch of people in that arena. I looked up the tweets that I drove up from Dallas to see Ja play in Oklahoma City, and you ejected him for talking to fans. Like, I will never spend $1 with the NBA again because, come on, I'm not here to see the referees or upholding some righteous type of soapbox sermon that they need to be respected. Yes, of course they do, but that's not why the fans are spending their money. That's a very long-winded way of asking you, Rasheed, what's up?
Man, it's no, but those fans are right who tweeted that out about Ja. But first and foremost, it's already a thin line with some of the players and the referees in today's game. You do have some players who were like I was, weren't the refs' favorites, or got under certain refs' skin and this and that. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what Ja said now to the fan. I don't know. Number one, he could have knew the person. The ref didn't know that. Number two, it could have been either a fan of Ja's or a fan of that team. And he's just, going back and forth with that fan, because I've done that on plenty of nights and the referees heard that. And it's no ejection because you're not saying nothing foul or derogatory to that fan or that individual. So we don't know what happened or what he said. And then, of course, the ref thought he might have heard something, and it wasn't like that. So we don't know what that was about that one.
So let me interrupt you real quick because I do have the answer to that. Allegedly, I have feet on the ground, and someone that was sitting next to, it was a group of Ja Morant fans that were there with like a meet and greet of some kind. Ja's dad knew them as well because they were FaceTiming after the ejection. And supposedly what was said was a motivating from the fans. They said, "We're down 20. Let's get it going, Ja." And Ja said, "Okay, let's go. But the ref's got to give me a fucking whistle." And he said it with the ref, not to the ref, but with the ref standing nearby. And that was enough for him to say, "You know what? I've had enough. You're out of here." So Ja got upset because I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them. So
Tresvant sensitivity.
Yeah, right. But let me play devil's, not that I agree with it, but let me play devil's advocate here just for a quick second to get your take on it. That these are people too, all right? Referees are people as much as fans don't want to admit it. They have feelings, and if they get their feelings hurt or they just sick of the dissent that occurs regularly that we don't always hear throughout an NBA game, at some point they got to put their feet down so that this isn't just the players running the league, every single night. It might as well be calling their own fouls if they could have their way. So I want to give the referees, no one's going to be happy with me or agree with this, but I want to give them a little bit of credit because, they're professionals. They're being judged by their superiors the same way that players are by coaches and general managers, that they need to do like what they've been trained. And if there's dissent, they are trained to eject the player. But again, what matters here is Ja Morant playing basketball so that people tune in and pay money for it. The NBA is a business. And this was a tough weekend of referees potentially going a little too far. So as someone that's been on the wrong side of an ejection, do you ever go to the locker room and be like, damn, maybe I messed up? Or is it always just, no, like you're an adult, deal with it?
Sometimes I have. Sometimes, if I got ejected, I would say to myself, or to my teammates after the game, I apologize, or like, Sheed, that was a dickhead move, or this and that. But to my credit, I can say it wasn't in an important game. If I got a tech in the playoffs, then okay, I'm not gonna really sit up here and risk getting that second tech, because now this is a playoff game, not a regular season game. So it holds a little bit more weight. But it's all sensitivity, man. I mean, just think about it. I guarantee you this. That wasn't the first time that night or the last time that night that ref heard either somebody cussing, and no matter if it was at him or not, number one. Number two, you gotta quit being a little bit sensitive with that. You know what I'm saying? The way that I always thought is, look, and it goes for us as players too, you gotta leave the fucking feelings and emotions at the door. Yo, you came in here to do a job. My job is to come in here and play basketball. Your job is to come in here and referee. Yo, all my feelings about you and your feelings about me, that shit got to be checked at the door, yo. If not, you're going to bring that in. And guess what? That's how you got all these controversies with referees and players, because they let that emotions get involved with it. For me, I ain't let my emotions get in, because I ain't like none of them. So it really didn't matter to me. But it's all dealing with feelings and emotions and that sensitivity. And then here's the other thing. I guarantee you, behind closed doors, as they always do, the NBA probably reprimanded that referee somehow, some way, because as you just said, Ja Morant is in a section where he's brought kids down, through his foundations or whatever the case may have been. But they're there to see him. I got my Ja Morant t-shirt on and, everything like that. I'm there to see Ja win or lose. And here it is, no matter at any point in the game. Now, if Ja would have did something irate for him to be called to get thrown out the game, that's one thing. But if he's talking to the fan, and it's his fans, it's Grizzly fans, yo, yeah, that ref, to me, in my opinion, he was too sensitive with that right there, man. If anything, he should have heard it, shook his head, and walked over there. Or at a point when Ja was away from the kids, hey, look, man, let me boom, boom, boom. Some referees do that. Some don't. So a lot of them got a chip on their shoulder because they learn from bad referees. Like, don't take no shit from players. You're the man. They came to see you, blah, blah, blah. No, man, as that tweet said, yo, I drove from Dallas. I bought courtside seats that cost me $6,000 or this and that to bring the family for Christmas. You got whatever reason the fans came to see him, but now I can't see him. Yeah, that's not a good taste that the NBA likes to have in their mouth. So in my opinion, I think that referee behind closed doors, again, probably got reprimanded.
These stars attract fans to buy tickets, to merchandise, concessions, and parking. And if you continue to poke them with ejections and load management, at some point they're just going to give up because it's natural. And all of these reasons the NBA now have as to why a specific player may not play at all or play the entire game, it feels fixable. It's skewed to one end of the spectrum a little bit more now than the other. And you know what? Again, I feel like we shouldn't have to lead off the show with this, but we should never know the names of the referees, guys, if you're watching this. Whether now everyone knows who Scott Foster is, who Tony Brothers is. He's one of those, don't talk down to me. Otherwise, I'll take you out of here. Like, I'm the OG ref. Everyone knows who Ed Malloy is. He's the type of guy who looks like he practices his charge calls in the mirror. And now after this weekend, like that one, that's one of my go-to bits. Everyone's going to know Ray Acosta after this week of the Bucks versus Warriors, giving out 6 technicals, and eventually, at the end of the week, ejecting Ja Morant. So let's find a happy ground in the middle, because we're all rooting for the NBA product to succeed, and this is not helping, period. Last night, we're filming this on a Monday. Nikola Jokic decides to go out there and do something that only Wilt Chamberlain has done. And this is not the first time that we've talked about this on this show, that if there's anyone who leads the league in things that only Wilt has done, it is Nikola Jokic, who goes 40, 27 rebounds, I think, and 10 assists in one of the most ludicrous triple-doubles in a long time. We could talk about Jokic all day. I think we've spoken to his talent in the past, but because it's also Arvydas Sabonis' birthday today, I felt like for one of Arvydas' closest teammates that you of all people could discuss and enlighten us and educate us on the parallels of Arvydas Sabonis and Nikola Jokic. But because before Jokic, Sheed, there was a consensus that Sabonis was the best passing big man of all time, and it wasn't close. But now that Jokic has kind of taken that over, can you take us back and how these two have similar games, how Jokic learned from Sabonis, what you see in the two of them that makes them so similar?
Well, first and foremost, happy birthday to my man Sabonis. You know what I'm saying? Big Sabonis. Hey, glad you made it for another year around the sun, good brother. And to your question, Wob, I didn't get a chance to see Sabonis play until he came to the NBA, until he came to Portland. Now, I've gotten from my elders who, played basketball, some overseas and some here in the NBA, would tell me of in his younger days, like Sabonis was probably the most dominant big man to play the game because he put it on the floor, not no crossover shit or nothing like that, but I could put it on the floor 2 or 3 dribbles to get to the basket for a dunk, layup, whatever the case may be. He could shoot the three, and I can imagine in his younger days that 3-ball was probably better. And as far as the passing, I would say Sabonis is probably the best big man passer that I've played with and seen. Now we have every now and then we have some big men who, they make a couple nice little dimes, little Magic Johnson. You know what I'm saying? So him, he gonna see you. He gonna drop that ball, this and that. So it took me about 3 weeks when I first got traded to Portland and we were practicing. It took me about 3 weeks to get used to him because I'm on the floor and I'm doing shit. I don't think he see me. And next thing I know, the ball hit me in the head, it's hit me in the chest. So I'm like, all right, now I know big fella could see, he could pass. So go ahead, let me put my antennas up whenever he got the ball and doing this thing. So now if I'm cutting to the basket while he trying to make a move, he see me cutting and it could just be boom, quick tap pass. He might wrap it around himself and his defender behind the back and hit you. Sabonis is a hell of a passer, man. And I like Jokic. But I don't know if he's as skilled as Sabonis with that passing, bro, on everything.
If you're trying to rile up the comment section, you have successfully done it, Rasheed, because you have to remember a lot of people here are probably younger than us. They've only seen Jokic because they weren't, even when Sabonis was playing for the USSR team back in the Olympics. He was on the world's platform there. Then he comes to Portland towards the end of his career. And he's still putting on these shows. And as a player, because I do think this is similar with Jokic, that sometimes you could just be running, just getting some cardio in down the court, and then a ball hits you in the temple. Right. And you're like, that's some Looney Tune shit. Like, where did the ball – did I just get hit with a cartoon basketball? And
that's how he was.
So is it – I'm going to assume that guys that special with that type of talent have the wherewithal to see everything on the court. Like they have Peyton Manning type vision out there, like on the football field. But I mean, basketball players know how to pass, especially if you make it to the professional level. What made these two so far above and beyond anyone at this position before that if you took Jason Kidd's vision and brain and put it into a big man, this is unlike anything that we've ever seen. So is it just sheer talent? Is it practice? Is it like, how can someone watching this become that level of passer? And I feel like you're the only one, just because of your experience playing alongside Sabonis. Did you see anything that he did, the way that he viewed tape, the way that he matched up against opponents? Was there just a trick somewhere in there?
No, I would have to say it's just know-how, man. It's just know-how to make that good dime. As I said, some bigs, will make the regular pass, but Like he's threading the needle. Both of them, Jokic too. They threading the needle with some of these passes here. So I think it's more of a know-how because you can't really teach that. You know what I'm saying? You can teach the basic pass. Okay, one step forward, two-hand chest pass, thumbs out when you pass it. You can teach all of that, but you can't teach nobody like a full court Magic Johnson skip bounce pass that's going to come right up to that runner in stride for the layup or dunk. You can't teach it like that. And the passing abilities of Jokic and Sabonis back then was phenomenal, man. I mean, who would expect it? Because now, as that defender, now I really got to be on point if I'm guarding Jokic. Because shit, okay, if you see the double coming, damn, they're gonna dump it down. If you see the double coming from the baseline, damn, now he's gonna hit the other man in the corner or whatever the case may be. So yeah, you got to be on your P's and Q's. And damn, I feel sorry for who he got that against too. Because I know they ragging his ass like, damn, Jokic had a trip dove in your mouth, dog. Like, ooh.
All right. So while Jokic continues to prove why he is the back-to-back reigning MVP in today's league, there is the opposite side. Let's talk about a team that's kind of struggling here a little bit. That's going to be thrust into the spotlight rather soon as we approach the trade deadline and they continue to plummet through the Eastern Conference standings. That is the Chicago Bulls, who are now 11-18 on the season, 7 games under 500. They just gave up 150 points to a Timberwolves team without 2 of their best starters, 150 points in regulation. You've got Goran Dragic subtweeting cryptic comments about his teammates in effort and sacrifice in the locker room after. And you put this all together, you have a bunch of expiring contracts in DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic, and it's starting to feel like a situation in which everyone sees the writing on the wall. And while you have had success in your illustrious career, Rasheed, I'm going to imagine at some point there was a team that, you know what, maybe it's just in everyone's best interest if we got a divorce. If that has ever occurred throughout your career, can you take us back in time to describe what you think maybe the ingredients to this recipe are of things that there are no more players only meetings that can save us. There's no more like, let's just trust each other. Yeah. It's time to like break this shit up. Are the Bulls there? And even you don't necessarily need to answer that question first, but I want to hear when it's time and why.
Well, when it's time. I knew when it was time for me to leave Portland. I saw the direction that the team was going, which I have no problem with. It's all part of the business. I went from being in my 7 years there, 6-7 years there. I went from being one of the youngest on the team to now one of the oldest as being that veteran. I seen the veteran guys get moved out and they bringing in younger and younger. It's part of the business with that. So I saw that writing on the wall, and that's when I went to management, and we had some talks and everything, and we've, again, as you just said, we felt as though it was in the best interest to for everyone to go their separate ways. But as far as with the Bulls, with the way that it looks like they're moving is, of course, you see everybody's not on the same page. $150 in regulation, nobody's caring. That's what that is right there. I don't care. I'm just out here to get mine. Either way, I'm still getting my check when I leave this game. And it's almost kind of sort of with some of the games that they've been playing, it's like, shit, damn, is this November, December, or is this April? Is this the end of the season for us? I mean, they're already starting their summer plans from their gameplay. Now, I could be wrong with their thinking. They're thinking that, oh, we got to go out here and win. But the way that they're playing is they're ready for the summer, man.
Well, they're certainly ready for a trade deadline, I imagine, because some of the guys like DeRozan and Vooch probably see themselves wearing another uniform here by the time that comes around, because there are a lot of teams that are going to request their services. But 150 points in regulation. I watched every second of that game.
That's sick, man.
They were trying to give up points. Like they were – I have never helped defense, just people standing around like gargoyles. And it wasn't – they were standing around.
What type of defense? What?
Yeah, there was no miscommunication. It was apathy. That's worse than being mad or sad or a technique. Like they just didn't care. And if I see that, then the writing is on the wall. That's something here is coming down. But I'd like to go back and just go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's it. The writing's on the wall. I mean, they got to see it. Both of them. The players got to see it. Coaching staff has to see it, and the front office has to see it. It's just somehow they're gonna have to get it all together to come up with them trades. Because, like you said, it's a lot of contracts coming to the end of the road. So now, what can we get out of these players if we decide to trade them?
And you brought it up before. You brought up before with your tenure in Portland about approaching management. And while that sounds, it's an easy sentence to say out of your mouth, can you take us through the process of how you do that professionally? Because unless you're getting called in the same way that a principal calls you in at school for getting into trouble because you did some shit that needs to be addressed, if you want to go through the process of formally requesting a trade, we see that. Before your time, during your time, and to this day. So that's something that's very popular. But if there is a situation in which a veteran player sees the writing on the wall that we're going to be pivoting more towards building towards the future, do you talk to your agent first? Do you talk to your coach first? Do you go straight to the general manager? And when you sit down, do you just straight up say, I'd like to be traded somewhere that is trying to win a championship this year? And what's usually the feedback like from a general manager?
Well, first and foremost, with that, when you're dealing with that whole trade talk, or you hear those trade rumors, and I'm speaking as a player, you hear those trade rumors. It depends on the person, to be honest, Wob. It's like I'm not mature enough to be able to sit down and have grown-ass man conversations with somebody. Then I'm going to tell my agent, or, I'll start some shit in the newspaper. So in today's game, of course, it's the Twitter thumbs. I go straight to the tweets, Instagram. I go straight to public opinion for this or for that. But to be honest, it's just some grown man shit. If you're not satisfied, don't go to your agent. Your agent is only there for you to make deals. He's only there to make deals, and if it's time for your contract up and this and that, that's the only reason he's there. Other than that, he's not there dealing with day-to-day things. So now, if you got a problem with the coach, how you gonna call your agent that's 1,500 miles away to call the same person you have a problem with in the same building that's right upstairs in his office? Like, what the no? As a grown man, go in there, have a grown man conversation. Don't go in there with the attitude. You got to go in there with the perspective, and that's what I went in there with Portland. Like, look, okay, I see that we're trying to go in different directions. Like, what are you guys trying to do? Am I in a picture of your whole overall scheme over these next few years and these few drafts? What are you expecting from me? Will you help me get traded? Because it's not always like that. You don't always have a good GM. You got some GMs who just there more for the business side of it, with that organization. And then you have some GMs who've been around the game or even played the game and knows what that situation feels like. You know what I mean? So now it's like, look, I got to go out here and still do what I do. I still got to go out here and play. Or, if I'm not getting the minutes, or if I'm not playing, the coach not playing me, whatever the case may be, I still got to go out here and be a professional. Because at the end of the day, you still got to get your check. You still got to take care of your family. So just take care of it professionally instead of going to the paper. Because now, once you go to the paper and the Twitter and all that, now motherfuckers going to start clowning you. And I said, oh, man, he scared me. Man, coach yelled at him, and now he want to transfer. He want to get traded because the coach yelled at you. Oh, you punk ass motherfucker! Like, it's a totally different ball game now, man. But that's how you handle it in any way. So if any of them are watching or listening or whatever, and it's not just anyone for the Bulls, but just in this game period, dealing with any management, shit, go to them like a grown ass man, a grown ass woman. Hey, sit down, look, let's talk. The same way you would in a marriage. You got to sit at some point. I don't care how mad you get with your wife or how mad she get with you. Y'all yelling, calling each other MFers, throwing shit. But guess what? When both of y'all calm down, y'all got to do what? Y'all talk. And then that's when the whole sense comes into play. So instead of me going to the papers or talking shit about my teammates to my other teammates, no, go straight to management.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Twitter fingers, Mr. Twitter fingers himself. And you're talking about going straight to management and the coaching staff. Eric Bledsoe once upon a time tweeted, "I don't want to be here." And then when he was confronted about it, he said, "Oh, I was referring to the barbershop that I was getting my haircut in." Just like a tweet right at the peak of trade talk, the most cryptic shit tweet in the world. And then he has the audacity to try and say, "Well, I technically was in the barbershop and I didn't want to be there. So that's what I was referring to." Everyone saw through it. Right. And I maybe I'm being slanderous, but I think to this day, that's just example number 1A of being upfront that you were talking about, going to the coaching staff, because that's not going to help your cause. It's going to make shit worse. And he ultimately got his way, though. So sometimes Twitter can be a useful tool. But and how did you find out back in the day if there were trade rumors without Twitter or cell phones? Was it papers, fans, family? Coaches would tell you we're thinking about trading you. How did that conversation ever come about?
All of the above. You have some fans who they might, be tuned in to back then it was more the AM radio stations and sports shows. So they might have heard some. And of course, everybody has their sources, when it comes to this or comes to that. But the way that we found out, for me, for the most part, my first trade, and it's crazy, and I'm not Eric Bledsoe with it, but I was in a barbershop. So I'm in a barbershop, and my guy owns the shop. So we up there, we having a couple brews, guys getting their hair cut. And my cousin comes up there like, "Yo, you just got traded to Portland." I'm like, "Man, whatever." Like, yeah, right. And, this when cell phones first came out. So I pulled the big ass block out that looked like this. Was like, "Man, let me call my agent and see." So I called my agent, like, "All right." He like, "Yeah, you got traded." I'm like, I was mad. Like when it first happened, I was mad because I was thinking of that next season. Like, man, playing with Webb, playing with Jawan. I got a full year under my belt. I'm a little bit more skilled now. And, the guards that we had with Mark Price and Rob Pack, I was like, man, we could do something. And boom, got traded. So then after the first 30 seconds, I was like, all right, it's a business. It's part of it. You still got to go out here and work and play. No matter how I felt about management in Washington, I still got to go out here and play.
Well, let's use this as a point to talk about UNC's monster victory against Ohio State in overtime in the Garden, with the season kind of maybe on the line, the quickest team to go from number 1 to unranked in history, on the verge of falling to 7-5 with no marquee wins. That is a long way back to just making the tournament, let alone relevancy. Yet the things that we discussed the last 2 times that we have spoken about UNC, your first piece of advice was play through Mondo.
We need to go through Mondo. And go inside out. That will open up for the guards a lot more.
Guess what happened in the Garden? Boy, did they play through Mondo. They made a point to post him up and let that boy go to work. Number 2, when Mondo wasn't on the floor and you had Caleb Love and RJ Davis shooting 25 times each in a loss at Virginia Tech, your response was, y'all got to trust each other. So now that they got this victory that they probably should have had against Alabama in the 4 overtime game, they get their big, okay, the season is turned around type of vibes in the building after a win like that, a comeback victory with a buzzer beater shot. Do they look like they trust each other now, Rasheed?
It's getting there. Maybe some of the passes that happened in the game against Ohio State might not have happened in the previous games. Could have been a little bit of selfish play. But no, they actually played like a team out there against O State and came away with that good victory. It was a great shot that Nance hit at the end. Nice little turnaround. Good play design to clear it out for him coming from the other side of the court. So, no, the guys, hey, I'm not going to sit here and say gung-ho, we're going to win the championship. But, yeah, we getting there now. So our first thing is, okay, we got regular season coming up, ACC. So now we got to make sure that we got our shit together for that because, we in the toughest conference in the country. So that Ohio State game, that's we got to use that as that momentum, And I think that might have knocked them out the top 25, didn't it? Or came close to it, something like that. But that's the type of gameplay, that urgency. You see how we played when we're unranked opposing to when we're ranked. It's a different. It's night and day. It's like being a Shih Tzu and a pit bull.
I don't know why this team they like being Seabiscuit, the horse that has to be 10 strides behind going to the final. It likes being in last place so that it pisses itself off, and then it just takes off like a rocket ship. And then Carolina goes to 7-4 after being a number 1 preseason ranking. And as soon as they have their backs against the wall, they turn into this team that the same 8 seed that we saw in the tournament that was lucky to make it at the time. They had to get a win over Duke to kind of make sure that they were in. And then when they're kind of overrated and they're looked past, all of a sudden Armando Bacot is just this basketball Godzilla on the floor that can't be stopped. Love and RJ feeding him relentlessly. You got Nance, of course, like you said, taking advantage of his height. It all clicked, even though it was a close victory. That is the type of victory that Carolina will win and realize, like, oh, we're back now. Like, oh, we're good now.
That was a tournament game.
Yeah.
That was just like a tournament game. That effort that we gave, the passing, the whole, just the camaraderie that was out there, that was like a tournament game for us. And again, the difference from playing unranked against a ranked opponent, and that's how we are when we flip-flop. When we're that ranked opponent and the other opponent is unranked, we're not playing to our caliber. We're playing to their level. We're not playing to our level.
There is no easy days rooting for this Carolina team. They want to be stressed out. They want the anxiety level to be high because they thrive with chaos. This is not the Hansborough, Danny Green, Ty Lawson squad that won every single tournament game by double digits and just blew the doors off of everyone. No, they need to go down. Right. They need to feel the pain of defeat, and they use that. They channel it into this Star Wars type of lightning bolt energy onto the basketball court. And that's really the only way that feels like that they came back was it's do or die right now. So hopefully we get a little bit more consistency as the ACC season approaches, which I imagine there will be. And hopefully they continue to use this victory as kind of just what worked and what didn't. Last thing that I'd like to do with Rasheed is we like to close out every single episode. This is a segment that is inspired by him, and we're going to keep it running because he likes to pick a number that in the NBA in terms of a jersey number. And we go through the number and we create the all-Sheed team, meaning point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. It's not like who the best player was through the 5th best player. It's building a squad based on a number. And it's my job to pick numbers that I think will create some interesting conversation. So we've done number 30, we've done number 23, we've done number 34, which had Hakeem and Shaq and all those big names. But while that was, and we had to ditch this man that you're looking at over here, replaced Giannis Antetokounmpo with Charles Barkley. All right. So that's the reason for doing this is there's some legitimate conversations to be had. So for this particular episode, I chose number 3, which is the opposite of loaded front court. There are significant names in the backcourt, which Rasheed is going to have to sort through and tell us who his all number 3 Rasheed Wallace team is. Let's start it up because you said the front court's easy. So let's do it reverse this time. Let's start with the center and end with the point guard.
My center was if I'm not mistaken, and oh man, don't hurt me for this, body. Don't hurt me for this. My center, if I'm not mistaken, was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year with Ben Wallace. My power forward is, rest in peace, my vet, my guy, my brother, Cliff Robinson. As I was telling you, the three small forward, that's where I'm a little cloudy. I'm a little cloudy, but my two, yeah, some people might disagree with me with this one, but I do got to go with D Wade. And of course, at my point, even though he wasn't a point, he was a scorer. Shit, I don't even know if you could give him a real position. But of course, Chuck, AI. That'll be my point. So I got Chuck, D Wade. Right now, my three is a question mark. Cliff Robinson and Ben Wallace.
So let's go through some. The front court is fine. Ben Wallace has to be there. Cliff Robinson, who you're close with as well. Great career, underrated career. Wade, AI. Mm-hmm. So the swingman position, there is Craig Elo.
Cloudy.
Okay, Craig Elo, man, not okay. Steve Francis, not a three. Craig.
No, he's not a three, man. I like franchise.
Steven Jackson has worn three before. John Starks. Let's see. Oh,
I don't know.
You know what? I think this guy. I'm gonna make him eligible for the three. Drazen Petrovic.
Okay,
did he do enough for you? Did he do enough for you before his time?
I know who Drazen is. Mm-hmm. I know who he is and what he did. Yeah, he played with my old heads, Derek and Kenny Anderson out there in New York. I mean, not New York, New Jersey. Yeah, I know who Draz is.
What about Dennis Johnson?
Yeah, I like DJ. I can't see him as that small forward though. You know, he could be more of that point. He could be more of that point. He ran that show for themselves for a long time. Even with Larry Legend, he ran that show for a long time.
So let's do this. We're either going to move Wade. We're going to go with a 3-man backcourt and move Wade to the three in this case, and we'll put Dennis Johnson in as a combo guard of some kind, or we can put Petrovic as our swing man, and then we go AI.
I think I will put Petro as the swing because that gives us a little bit more height. Gives us a little bit more height.
All number 3 team. AI, Wade, Petrovic, Cliff Robinson, and Ben Wallace. What that team's not missing anything. They got defense with Ben. They got rebounding. They got a glue guy that can do all the dirty work in Cliff Robinson. You got a 3-point shooter that can spread the floor in any era in Petro. AI with the handles in Dwayne Wade.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, it was once or twice AI led the league in steals.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere
the team
in
can
there,
lock between Wade and AI. That defense can lock up.
Yeah, and then D Wade, he's a good wing defender, good perimeter defender. You know, he knows how to play it to force the offensive guy to do what he wants him to do. That's just again that veteran know-how. Yeah, I like that little 5 right there. I like that little 5.
I think that the evolution of this segment is going to be we're going to take all the teams that we've created and we're going to have them start playing each other. So we'll have would Rasheed Wallace on the number 30 team be able to handle Cliff Robinson on the number 3 team? We could talk about that at a future when we get to like 16 episodes. We'll create a little bracket and we'll see. We'll have who is the best number of all time when we have full squads.
Let the fans do it. Yep.
All right. We'll have people. We'll do a vote, and we'll have Rasheed's take on the vote. And as a result, we'll get people to – we'll see, because they're going to be mad at you for not having Giannis in there, and they may be mad at you for having Rasheed against – you know what? Rasheed can handle Shaq. He can handle – you tell him, like, it may be a little biased, but that's okay. All right, good. This segment continues to evolve improv style as we talk more about it. But for this edition of That's What She'd Said, that is – Rasheed Wallace, I'm Rob Perez, Worldwide Wild. We will see you same place, same time next week.
And you know this. Wob